top of the hour, and we're coming on the air with a Texas man who is just about out of options, with the state set to put him to death for the killing of his child based on outdated and questionable medical diagnoses. His chances for a stay hinge on a conservative governor and the Supreme Court. We will be live just outside the prison as we await any potential last-minute reprieve. Also at this hour, the dramatic new developments in the Middle East as Israel confirms its forces killed the leader of Hamas. The big question now, what does it mean for the war in Gaza? Plus, we're breaking down a critical voting bloc in two battleground states. Followers of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, how the Mormon vote could swing Arizona and Nevada. And then in tonight's original, our team is getting a close-up look at how the country's biggest police department, the NYPD, is preparing to fight a high-tech threat, artificial intelligence, and why baseball might just be back. The biggest stars fueling a huge viewership bump in the playoffs and could give us an historic World Series matchup. That's going to be later in the newscast. Good day, I'm Tom Costello. I am in for Hallie, and in the next few hours, Texas is expected to put a man to death for killing his toddler in a case lawmakers, medical experts, and even the lead detective have come out against. Now, the execution is the first of its kind tied to shaken baby syndrome. Robert Roberson's best hopes now, a 30-day reprieve from Texas Governor Greg Abbott or intervention by the Supreme Court. No word from either one of them at this hour. The odds of that happening are very low. In his nearly 10 years as governor, Abbott has stopped only one execution. That was back in 2018. The Supreme Court also rarely grants delays. That according to a 2023 Bloomberg Law analysis. Out of 270 emergency stays filed by death row inmates between 2013 and 2023, only 11 were granted by the High Court. But Roberson's attorneys, the lead investigator in his original case, a bipartisan group of lawmakers and medical experts all say he was convicted of a questionable diagnosis. Back in 2002, Roberson took his 2-year-old daughter, Nikki, to the hospital where doctors found she had bruising and blunt force trauma. And their only reasonable explanation, they said at the time, so-called shaken baby syndrome, a diagnosis medical experts now say is actually outdated. Now, Roberson's lawyers argue Nikki actually died from complications related to a severe case of pneumonia that she had. Roberson is scheduled to die by lethal injection at the state penitentiary in Huntsville, Texas. NBC's Danny Savalos has our legal angle, but we want to start with NBC's Priscilla Thompson, who is actually in Huntsville right now. Priscilla, we mentioned the two obvious options here, but there's a third one that was kind of unexpected, right? What are we hearing about any last-minute efforts now?
Yeah, so I will tell you, Tom, in the last hour or so, we have seen the barricades going up here, officers coming out in anticipation of possible protests. And so right now it is business as usual as this execution is planned to move forward. And the people that we are hearing from the loudest right now are those who are advocating for this execution to be halted. In particular, late yesterday, we saw the Texas legislature step in a committee there issuing a subpoena for Roberson to testify before them in the hopes that this may stop this execution from going forward. But I will tell you that, as you noted, the people who have the power to stop this are those who we have not heard anything from today, including Governor Greg Abbott, who could call for that 30-day reprieve and grant that, which is what Roberson's attorneys have asked for, in the hopes that they can present additional evidence in the court system to get this halted for good. And also the Supreme Court, which, while rare, they could potentially step in and stop this tonight. Tom?
You know, interesting, the shaken baby diagnosis has really been kind of discredited over the last few years, but it's played a role in some convictions for decades, right?
Yeah, and it's been discredited because a lot of the symptoms, the bleeding behind the eyes and on the brain and the swelling of the brain, could be caused by any number of actions. And in fact, the American Academy of Pediatrics doesn't even call this shaken baby syndrome anymore. And there is pretty wide consensus that it could be caused by long-term medical conditions, infectious disease, any number of things. And I want to point out this Wall Street Journal reporting as it relates to the convictions. They write that since the 1970s, when scientists first said that shaking a baby could cause serious and sometimes fatal brain damage, prosecutors have used the diagnosis to charge over 3,000 people with abuse or murder, most of them parents or caregivers, according to a database of cases through 2015 from the Medill Justice Project at Northwestern University. And over 200 of those defendants have been sentenced to life in prison or death. But of course, Robert Robertson could potentially tonight become the first person in the U.S. ever to be executed based off of that diagnosis. Tom?
What a tragedy if it turns out that this is actually a flawed diagnosis. Priscilla, thank you very much. Let's go now to NBC legal analyst Danny Savalos. Danny, we mentioned with Priscilla that Republican members of the Texas House are now trying to intervene by issuing a subpoena. Is there any case where something like that have actually or would actually add any weight?
Apparently not, and it's not likely to here. I expect that it may get rejected as a kind of legislative branch infringement on the judicial branch. That's what I expect to happen, but since it's really never been tried before, anything is possible. And in all likelihood, that, at least statistically, might be this defendant's better option than his efforts at the Supreme Court of the United States.
Yeah. You know, I was struck when I was reading the background on this case that this gentleman, Mr. Robertson, has autism. And when he was in the hospital, they didn't think he was displaying enough evidence of being emotional, but they didn't know he has autism. You know, the confluence of events here, it's really stark. We know cases in which the Supreme Court would weigh in are rare. What would it take for them to get involved?
Here's what it won't take, and this may surprise you. The Supreme Court does not recognize standalone claims of actual innocence. In other words, if this petitioner is saying to the Supreme Court, I'm actually innocent and here's some evidence of it, that by itself is not a ground for the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, to grant cert. Now, that may be shocking, but it makes sense because our system of federalism leaves issues of guilt and innocence to the state courts. You only go to federal district court or the United States Supreme Court if you're raising something like a constitutional issue. So, believe it or not, even evidence of actual innocence may not be enough at the high court.
Wow. Danny, thank you very much. Danny Savalos. You probably heard the news. Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar confirmed dead tonight, killed by Israeli forces in Gaza, that according to Israel's foreign minister. With President Biden landing in Germany just in the last hour, he had this to say.
Now's the time to move on. Move toward a ceasefire in Gaza. Make sure that we move in a direction that we're going to be in a position to make things better for the whole world. It's time for this war to end and bring these hostages home.
Well, as you know, the takedown of Sinwar is a big win for Israel, at war with Hamas for more than a year now. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu late today said the war will continue until Israel's hostages are returned from Gaza.
For those who are willing to lay down their arms from the Hamas and free the hostages, believe me, they will be saved. But those who do not, their days are numbered if they dare hurt any of the hostages.
Sinwar was the architect of the October 7th attack on Israel and is believed to have been in hiding in the tunnels under Gaza. He was named as the leader of Hamas after the group's former political chief was assassinated by, or rather in Tehran back in July. So far, there has been no comment from Hamas. NBC's Keir Simmons is joining us now from the region. Keir, we're still learning details about the attack that killed Sinwar. What do you have as the latest where you are?
Well, Tom, the Israelis now saying that they identified Sinwar and two other terrorists running between houses in Rafah in Gaza. They've actually shown drone footage that they say is him. They targeted him. They killed him. They say that he was running away. They say that they found him with a gun and somewhere close to $10,000. It's after 12 months in which Yahya Sinwar was frankly in hiding while running Hamas, while communicating by sending, according to reports, handwritten messages by courier to the political wing of Hamas, even to negotiate for the hostages, to negotiate over whether or not Hamas would stop fighting. Of course, his message was consistently that Hamas would not stop fighting, certainly not, he would say, until many thousands of Palestinian prisoners were released by the Israelis. And he was the Israelis' #1 target. And that is why you are seeing, frankly, the Israelis celebrating tonight.
Well, he had been in Hamas since he was a teenager, and he was in an Israeli prison for 20 years.
Yeah.
Do you expect that his death will dial up hostilities in the Middle East? What does this mean for the potential for a ceasefire if the Hamas leadership has now been decapitated?
It's the crucial question, and the way that you pose that question is important, Tom, because you're right. Yahya Sinwar grew up in Khan Yunis. He was then in an Israeli jail for 2 decades. He was somebody who knew Hamas like the back of his Gaza like the back of his hand. He knew Hamas too like the back of his hand, like a kind of a blueprint. His politics was fused in Gaza, fused by Gaza, and it raises the question, doesn't it? If you kill someone like Yahya Sinwar, the more Yahya Sinwars appear. I mean, that really is the big question, the more immediate one. And this is what the Biden administration is really calling for tonight. The more immediate one is whether or not this will now lead to negotiations, because Yahya Sinwar certainly was a hardliner in those negotiations. We simply don't know. You played that clip from Prime Minister Netanyahu suggesting that the fight goes on. Let's remember that Israel is still fighting in Lebanon. It is still waiting to strike Iran in retribution for that strike that Iran launched against Israel. So there is a lot more than just Gaza involved in this conflict now.
Yep, they've got it on all fronts. Keir Simmons, thank you very much. Other news now at this hour. Early in-person voting is kicking off in North Carolina, a key battleground state where both sides are banking on supercharging their bases. And the latest numbers from our team are also looking at how many people have voted. Almost 68,000, as you can see there. Tonight, the massive devastation from Hurricane Hallie, with many roads still impassable, making it harder for some people to even get to their polling sites. Our NBC team is talking to some of those voters. Take a listen.
Before this disaster, I think it was more on our mind. Now, after this disaster, our community, I think, is more about survival.
A lot of people here have lost faith in the federal government.
There's so many families that are going to be changed for generations.
We're going to take a live look in just a moment as Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis is easing some voting rules to give voters more flexibility following the back-to-back hurricanes. And there is Vice President Harris. She right now is in Wisconsin, campaigning as we speak at this very hour. The presidential blitz right now through battleground states very much on the stage. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez is also there watching it all from North Carolina. And Gabe, they're cleaning up behind you, I can see. You rightly point out in your reporting that Hallie, the hurricane's crushing aftermath, is really colliding with this political storm, right? How is that playing out on the ground in North Carolina just days after we saw record turnout in Georgia?
Hey there, Tom. Well, as you said, early in-person voting began this morning, and local officials do expect it could potentially be record turnout. It was record turnout a couple days ago in Georgia, but as you can see behind me, the cleanup effort is well underway here in North Carolina. Politics might not be a priority for many people here. Others this morning told us that, yes, they wanted to be heard, and so they felt it was very important for them to be out here. But for the election officials, it's been an incredible couple of weeks where they've had to rush to replace some of the polling sites that were damaged by the remnants of Hurricane Helene. We spoke to a GOP chairman in a neighboring county. We're here in Avery County, which is actually one of the more rural counties near Asheville. We spoke to a GOP chairman in a neighboring county as well. Take a listen to how he described the aftermath of this storm. When it comes to elections and voting, have you ever dealt with anything close to this challenging heading into early voting?
Well, it's like I shared with someone else. I don't think this region's seen anything this challenging since Genesis 6. I mean, this is biblical proportion, and but the answer is no.
So, Tom, as I said, election officials try to replace some of those polling sites. They're using Starlink to help with communication here in order to be able to tabulate some of the results. And another challenge is absentee ballots. Election officials here say that they are working with the Postal Service to try and redistribute them. As you can imagine, some of them may have been washed away during this storm, Tom.
Yeah, I'm sure. And listen, what more do we know about the big Midwest push right now with the vice president in Wisconsin? And she's trying to also keep those states, the formerly known as Rust Belt states, very much in the blue column.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And they're so-called blue wall states now. They're really must win for Vice President Harris. And yes, as you said, she is in Wisconsin this afternoon with 3 separate rallies in different parts of the state, Milwaukee, Green Bay, and La Crosse. And this is a critical state for her, and really trying to get the message out, trying to reach out to women voters in Wisconsin as well, and also voters in more rural areas. Now, another key state here in North Carolina, but really all these key battlegrounds, the Harris campaign really targeting with this battleground blitz with just 19 or so days left to go until the election, Tom.
Gabe, thank you. Gabe Gutierrez on the ground for us. Former President Trump is off the campaign trail tonight, speaking at a dinner for Catholic Charities in New York, as he's showing no remorse for his actions during the Capitol attack during a town hall he had with Latino voters.
They didn't come because of me. They came because of the election. They thought the election was a rigged election, and that's why they came. Some of those people went down to the Capitol. I said peacefully and patriotically, nothing done wrong at all, nothing done wrong.
Well, of course, remember, he also said, we fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. In the last few hours, Trump has been trying to stop the federal judge overseeing the case on his actions back on January 6th from releasing a new document with information that Jack Smith, the special prosecutor, is using to argue that presidential immunity does not apply here. NBC's Ryan Riley joins me now. He's following that case. Ryan, we know this document is supposed to be heavily redacted, but what does it contain, and why does Trump want to keep it out of the public view right now?
Yeah, I think because you can sort of piece together a lot of the particles of this when he's, in the previous filing, we saw a redacted document, but it was kind of easy to figure out exactly who was who, and it did contain some new information and new allegations. And essentially, from the Trump campaign's perspective, any news about January 6th isn't great for them. And I think that moment, last night especially, really highlighted this vulnerability for the campaign, because so many Republicans have trouble speaking truthfully about what they actually believe about the 2020 election. And, as we've seen with J.D. Vance, he has to pivot and talk about something else entirely rather than what he actually thinks about the roundly rejected conspiracy theories that the former president has been spreading about 2020. And those comments last night, I think, really just highlight that vulnerability. So if they can kick this back till after the election, their hope is that they can win the election, and then in which case Donald Trump appointees within the Justice Department could theoretically just dismiss this case if he takes office, Tom.
Well, he was impeached in the House because of his actions related to January 6th, but found not guilty, of course, in the Senate. Just to remind our viewers, there is no chance of a trial before the election, and maybe ever, right?
Yeah, very true. I think there's definitely another round to go before the Supreme Court, even if Donald Trump loses. But it is, basically it's the election which is going to decide the future of this case, essentially. This case will continue to chug along. There's going to be probably these appellate issues that will go through the appeals court and then up to the Supreme Court. Obviously Trump is opposing this entire case once it's dismissed entirely. And because that Supreme Court ruling over the summer that we saw on presidential immunity sort of limited the evidence that prosecutors could use, that definitely impacted the case. So now what this case is about is actions that prosecutors argue Donald Trump took as a personal and as an individual candidate for office rather than evidence of what he did in his official role as president. So that sort of wiped all of the things that he allegedly did to try to pressure the Justice Department officials into supporting his fake claims about a stolen election. And it more focuses on what the campaign itself was doing and what individual actors were doing doing. For example, one of the big highlights that come out of that most recent filing we saw was the TCF Center in Detroit. There is a Trump campaign operative who details match with an individual who on the Trump campaign named Mike Roman, who allegedly texted an individual who was on the ground, a lawyer who was on the ground, saying, "Make them riot." And then we saw that unrest unfold in Detroit, in that majority black city, as a majority white mob pounded their fist against glass and shouted, "Stop the count," to try to stop election officials from counting the votes of American citizens.
Yep. Ryan Riley on the story. Thank you very much, Ryan. Now to some breaking news we have out of Georgia. In just the last few minutes, we're getting our hands on a grand jury indictment just unsealed today, revealing dozens of new charges for a 14-year-old boy and his father connected to a deadly shooting at a high school last month. The 14-year-old suspect now faces 55 total charges, not just for allegedly murdering 2 teachers and 2 students, but also to the kids he shot at, related to the kids he shot at. The father also now faces 29 counts tied to any child his son fired on during that deadly attack, plus some additional charges. This is all rather new ground here when the parents of a suspected school shooter face charges. You may recall it started with the parents of Ethan Crumbley, convicted and sentenced to 15 years behind bars for involuntary manslaughter connected to the Oxford High School shooting in Michigan back in 2021. NBC's Priya Sridhar joins me now. And Priya, the difference here is that this is the first time the parent of a high school shooter faces murder charges. So what's new in this indictment?
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. Well, one of the most notable differences with these new set of charges is that Colt Gray, the 14-year-old who's being accused of carrying out the shooting at Winder High School, is now being faced with malice murder charges, which is the highest murder charges you can face here in the state of Georgia. Previous to that, he was facing felony murder charges. So this really means, according to prosecutors, of course, that he premeditated all of this. And typically with malice murder charges, you can actually face the death penalty. And although Colt Gray, despite his age, is being tried as an adult, I should say, he will not actually be facing the death penalty according to his first court appearance. Now, we're also learning some interesting new information about what happened behind the scenes on the day of that deadly shooting. According to investigators who testified yesterday at a preliminary hearing, according to reporting from the Associated Press, Colt Gray actually took a semi-automatic style weapon on a bus. He covered it in poster board, put it in his backpack, and then put it away, attended his first period class. Another fascinating piece of information that we learned is that they also discovered a notebook in that second period classroom with a diagram of exactly how he was going to carry out this shooting. He had written in that notebook that he planned to kill at least 26 people and injure another 13 if he, quote unquote, made it that far. And as you mentioned, this is also very interesting that his father, Colin Gray, is also facing some murder charges too, Tom.
Yeah, along those lines, I understand there is actually some new evidence specifically related to the father as well, or the father and son together?
Absolutely. Well, the reason that the father has come in the spotlight is that he allegedly gifted that semi-automatic weapon that was used in the shooting to his son as a Christmas present. And Tom, there were several red flags, according to investigators, that people, including educators and his parents, frankly, should have been concerned about Colt Gray. They say that...
We're back, bottom of the hour, taking a look at a voting bloc that could be critical in the upcoming election. We're talking about LDS members, folks who are part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who you might know as Mormons. They're one of the fastest growing Christian groups in the country, and while they traditionally do vote Republican, some, especially women, have been divided over Donald Trump. And it could have a big impact in key battlegrounds like Arizona and Nevada. NBC's Garrett Haig has more.
Let's go get some toys.
As a mother of 5 girls and the wife of her ward's bishop, Tatiana Pena has no doubt how her faith will impact her vote.
I think the fact that Donald Trump really understands the importance of the nuclear family, and a lot of his policies are to help strengthen the nuclear family, I think that's a big thing for me.
Tatiana is one of more than 400,000 Arizona members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The fast-growing Christian denomination counts nearly 7 million American members, nicknamed Mormons, largely concentrated in western states. In 2007, then Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney offered many Americans their first introduction to his faith.
I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God and the Savior of mankind.
Latter-day Saints now far better known in pop culture, thanks to shows like The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Did you ever say that Jen is too Mormon?
The battleground states of Arizona and Nevada each contain large Latter-day Saints populations and have each received canvassing delegations from the Utah GOP, the state where the church is based and where its conservative lean has helped keep the state deep Republican red. But the Trump era has created cracks in the church's political foundations. LDS member Terry Sharp voted for Trump in 2016, but soon found she could no longer defend his conduct.
I think Trump's a character, but I don't think he has any character.
Jane Anderson says she could never square her church's teachings with the character of a man whose policies she would otherwise support.
Our church leaders have said when we evaluate candidates, they listed 3 qualities: integrity, compassion, and service to others. I just don't see that with Trump.
In 2020, Sharp and Anderson became part of the 18% of LDS voters in Arizona who backed Joe Biden, according to exit polls, contributing critical votes to his razor-thin 11,000 vote margin there. Their votes and those of other Latter-day Saints, particularly women, could be pivotal yet again. Trump making this direct appeal on Sunday.
We want our peace. We want our wives' and children's futures. We want our freedom to worship. These are staples for the Latter-day Saints.
The Harris campaign pushing back, running this ad featuring Mesa, Arizona's Republican and Latter-day Saint mayor.
I'm a lifelong Republican, but I've always put country over party.
Harris's campaign hoping to build a permission structure for conservative Latter-day Saints to vote Democrat, perhaps for the first time.
Is it hard to come out and say, I'm voting for Kamala Harris in this community? Is it?
It is. I frankly keep it to myself and a few close friends.
I have some news for you. More people are going to know.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm really proud to stand up for Kamala. I think that her integrity is tremendous.
But for Anderson, she and her church are still just as conservative, her principles the same.
Can you square your conservative principles with a vote for Kamala Harris?
So there is one conservative principle that I hold very dearly that is going to push me towards Harris. That is the rule of law and the peaceful transfer of power.
In fact, all 3 women say they will oppose the state's ballot measure enshrining abortion rights, with Pena, the Trump supporter, arguing that Harris's record on abortion issues disqualifies her with church members.
The first commandment that God gave to Adam and Eve in the garden was to multiply and replenish the earth. Everything that Kamala Harris and her campaign has been focused on is abortion.
A confluence of factors dividing a church that weighs conservatism with character, alongside family and faith, and whose members may find their choices this November wanting.
Trust me, I wish there was another option. I wish Nikki Haley was on the ballot. But I have Trump, and he's not an option based on my principles.
And Garrett Haig joins us now. He's in Wisconsin at the Harris rally. Garrett, what other issues may be giving LDS members pause when it comes to voting for Trump?
Probably the biggest one of the specific issues is immigration, and not just sort of how the border is handled, but how Donald Trump talks about immigrants and refugees. This is a church where mission trips are expected, where work with refugees are common, and a church that was persecuted inside this country. Mormon voters will tell you they know what it's like sort of organizationally to be treated like an outsider, and a lot of times they just don't like the way that Trump frames the plight of immigrants and refugees. And Tom, you know, we also talked about Mitt Romney in this piece. I'll just flag that he is someone who's obviously not going to vote for Trump. He voted twice for his conviction in Senate impeachment trials. But he's also said he's not voting for Harris. You know, those sort of lost conservatives without a political home, I think, are a big part of this race overall, and especially in the Mormon community.
Yeah, good point. Garrett, thank you very much. Over now to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, the Archdiocese of LA has reached a whopping $880 million settlement over child sexual abuse claims. It is the largest single settlement for those kinds of claims with the Catholic Archdiocese. The plaintiff's attorneys say the case settles more than 1,300 cases of child sexual abuse in the LA area. New York, Philadelphia, and Chicago archdioceses have also settled million-dollar payouts in just the last 2 years. Number 2, the Biden administration says it's forgiving an additional $4.5 billion in student debt for more than 60,000 borrowers. Anybody included in this round of loan forgiveness should find out in the coming weeks. Biden says more than 1 million public service workers have now had their student loans forgiven. Number 3, new research about our ancient ancestors shows human genes were able to process carbs long before we had dinner rolls. A study from the journal Science found evidence that this specific gene existed more than 800,000 years ago. Scientists used to think the gene showed up in humans with the advent of farming about 12,000 years ago. But actually, it dates all the way back to the time of the Neanderthals, who apparently loved to order barbecue chicken and pizza. Number 4, tonight a rare copy of the Constitution is going up for auction in North Carolina and could sell for millions of dollars. The auction says it's one of fewer than 10 copies out there and the only one that is held privately. Number 5, today Universal is announcing it is opening a new theme park in Orlando, Florida. Another one. It's coming this coming May. As it tries to compete with Disney, it'll be called Universal Epic Universe. It's going to have stuff from Harry Potter and Super Nintendo and How to Train Your Dragon. And as you know, NBC, NBC News, Universal all come under the NBC Universal umbrella. When we come back, a new report is finding on the Secret Service and what went wrong leading up to the assassination attempt against former President Trump. And later, why Florida's health department is warning about a potentially dangerous bacteria and the hurricane floodwaters. Stay with us. Okay, we have some breaking news. The Justice Department is charging an Indian government employee in the failed murder for hire plot of a U.S. resident. The man that you're seeing here is the second person charged in connection with this plot. The person they're accused of trying to assassinate advocated for a Sikh separatist state in India, an issue that's caused a huge diplomatic rift with our neighbors to the north up in Canada. In a statement, Attorney General Garland says the DOJ will hold anybody accountable, regardless of their proximity to power, if they try to harm or silence American citizens. And we will bring you more details on this story as they become available. A new independent bipartisan review released today is identifying numerous mistakes by the U.S. Secret Service leading up to the assassination attempt that injured former President Trump back in July. The panel, made up of former senior law enforcement and top government officials, also warned of another catastrophic security lapse if the agency doesn't immediately undertake what the report calls fundamental reform. The Secret Service did not immediately respond to a request for comment. A spokesperson has told NBC News in the past that the agency had developed a plan to address known issues around staffing, training, and the use of technology. NBC's Julia Ainsley covers Homeland Security for us. Julia, break this down for us. What did the report find specifically?
This was probably the most detailed report that I've seen. Some of these things weren't new. Some of them were. 52 pages, Tom, where they include things like the fact that that morning, local law enforcement had their own meeting without Secret Service, and then Secret Service had their own meeting without local law enforcement.
That's head-spinning.
No wonder there was confusion about who was supposed to be guarding that roof where the shooter ultimately took aim. Their number one recommendation, Tom, is that there should be leadership basically revolution at the Secret Service, that they need extreme leadership changes. That is a question that our own Kelly O'Donnell posed today to acting Secret Service Director Rowe. Here's what he had to say.
They are recommending a leadership change. Are you prepared for that?
Well, what I'm focused on right now is making sure that I'm advocating for the men and women of the Secret Service that are out there doing the mission. And I'm trying to match the level of effort that they're doing right now to make sure that we are successful. And I'm pushing myself and those around me to make sure that we're having those conversations with key decision makers so that I can advocate for them And everything is on the table. Everything from pay reform, retirement reform, getting an authorization to ensure that our personnel are paid for every hour that they work. That is my focus right now.
And what Roe's talking about there is how hard it's been to hire new people. And that's why they have to depend so much on local law enforcement. So when that communication doesn't happen, as it clearly didn't that day, they think another Butler could happen again.
You know what I don't get about that, the communication issue? It's not like this happened. We just learned 6 months ago that there was a communication failure and problem. I mean, I've covered law enforcement for 30 years. We've been talking about this for 30 years. The police and the feds have got to be able to communicate, and it completely failed on this day. And oh, by the way, because I want to ask you about funding, because funding is a big problem with the Secret Service.
Well, and that's the thing we kept hearing about, that they simply don't have the funding. That's why they have to draw from locals. That's why they have to draw from other federal agencies like Homeland Security investigations, drawing often from people who aren't prepared or trained for this level of security or how to guard a protectee like Trump. But what this recommendation is saying, what this report is saying, is that even with funding, Butler would have still happened, that it's not just a funding issue. It's an issue with the way this agency is structured. This guy flew a drone for 11 minutes undetected.
Yeah.
The number of errors that went undetected, simply, you can't just blame that on funding.
No, it's just stunning at all levels.
It really is.
Julia, thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom.
Well, Julia, as you know, NBC covers hundreds of stories each day, and it's awfully tough to read, watch, listen to everything. So our bureau teams have selected a few highlights. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions, and we call this segment The Local. From our Southern Bureau, 3 people are dead and multiple others badly injured after a bridge collapsed in Mississippi. The state's transportation department says the incident happened during a worksite accident. Contractors were in the process of demolishing the bridge, which had been closed for about a month. Also out of our Southern Bureau, the Florida Health Department, listen to this, warning people to avoid floodwaters because of an increased risk of flesh-eating bacteria since Hurricanes Hallie and Milton. Nearly 40 people in the state have now been diagnosed with this infection. Flesh-eating bacteria can be deadly, but it is treatable if it's caught in time. And out of our Western Bureau, police rescued a man from a speeding train in the nick of time. They see he was experiencing a mental health crisis. There he is talking to officers, and he's standing on a ledge, and then he fell about 25 feet to the tracks below. Officers sprang into action and saved him. The man is, in fact, expected to be okay. If you or somebody you know is in a crisis, do not hesitate to use any of the following resources to get help. Coming up, it is in the original today. We're talking about how AI is changing law enforcement as it fights terrorism. Breaking news coming in just now as we are learning that a Texas judge has, in fact, decided that he is going to, at least for now, put on hold the possible execution of a Texas man set to be executed in connection with a shaken baby case this evening. A county judge in Texas blocking that from happening so that he can testify at a legislative hearing looking into this next week. And as we told you earlier in the show, that Republicans in the Texas House had issued a rather rare last-minute attempt by issuing a subpoena to try to get information on this case. We will have more at the top of the hour, but again, the execution for now is on pause. All right, to tonight's original with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching, and tonight we are looking at artificial intelligence and how it is transforming policing. How big of a problem is AI for law enforcement? Is AI a force for good, or can criminals exploit it for nefarious purposes? NBC's Tom Winter explores all of that and more with the NYPD Deputy Commissioner for Intelligence and Counterterrorism.
It's a new world in counterterrorism.
We've been describing the threat environment as everything, everywhere, all at once. And this is around the world, across ideologies, lone actors, complex organized group, all of it.
NYPD Deputy Commissioner Rebecca Weiner runs the largest police intelligence and counterterrorism program in the world. A secretive NYPD unit now facing a new tool that works 24/7, 365 days a year, potentially for would-be terrorists: artificial intelligence.
AI takes existing problems and magnifies them. It makes them at scale and at cost. The technology makes it easier to do the concerning stuff.
terrorist groups telling their followers to get working with AI chat programs and making AI-generated propaganda videos to recruit extremists. This video, made by ISIS, entirely AI-generated and voiced, released after the deadly Crocus attack near Moscow.
You can generate artificial propaganda without any concerns involving your own personal safety. If you can use a video generator to do that work for you, it's much faster. You can do more of it.
Weiner says the AI platforms have guardrails to try and keep criminals from using them. I asked several AI chatbots how to build a bomb. They said they wouldn't help me, and when I asked them why, it's because they said they didn't want me to do anything illegal or to hurt anyone. Guardrails the platforms have put in place.
Guardrails, by the way, that are continually quite easy to jump.
Is your finding that people are breaking through that?
Yes, and it's pretty easy to do, depending on how you're asking questions.
Weiner says she hopes AI companies will reach out to law enforcement to identify people interacting with chat programs in an effort to carry out attacks, much the same way major retailers report suspicious purchases of bomb-making materials. Another thing worrying authorities, a rise in AI-assisted scams targeting vulnerable people like the elderly, and fake 911 calls known as swatting, which necessitates police racing to respond.
This is against schools, it's against houses of worship. It is easy and it is free to generate hundreds or more of these calls that can be mapped out across the country at the same time. All of them, by the way, still require police response.
But Weiner says one of her chief concerns with AI, how easy it is to generate and distribute disinformation.
Because of crooked Joe Biden, we have an immigration crisis.
And that fake AI-generated election videos like these
but there's a bigger bomb if you fire them.
can pose real public safety risks.
Virality is often emotion-provoking, and there is a big concern around disinformation-fueled political violence, conspiracy theory-driven violence, which we have seen an increase of, including in this city over the last few years.
New technology often comes with ethical questions, something Weiner knows well. Her grandfather worked on the Manhattan Project and helped to develop the atomic bomb.
His commitment to further national security in a way that certainly has tremendous systemic downsides, the creation of a horrific weapon of war. And many of the scientists thought that they would be ending war for good by creating so much deterrence that no one would dare want to start a war with these kinds of weapons.
Would you put AI on the same level as that technology?
Well, people who are far smarter than I am have likened the advent of, proliferated AI to the advent of the nuclear era. Obviously, very different. We are certainly at an inflection point. I think it's going to change all aspects of society, which, of course, includes threats.
While Weiner still believes that one day AI could yield benefits for law enforcement, she says for now,
the bad guys might have a bit of an upper hand.
Do you think you're behind the curve when it comes to AI and the threat that it poses to your field?
I think we are at the curve. We're not behind, we're recognizing the risk.
Is this an existential threat?
I don't think it's an existential threat, but I am not a scientist. It's going to require some regulatory environments that don't exist. It will require cooperation between private sector, law enforcement, intel, and way broader groups of stakeholders to figure out how to harness the good but avoid the bad.
And Tom Winter joins me now. Tom, did you get a sense of how the NYPD is actually using AI to help catch criminals?
Right. So Commissioner Weiner told us that currently the NYPD does not have an AI program. They don't have an AI system. I asked her, is there a secret rack room somewhere with lights flashing and computers whirring and basically using this in their intelligence efforts? She says not at this point. But one area where they could see the NYPD using AI in the future, she says they get all this information, Tom, and they develop all this information in these cases and think about what it could do for an investigator, for a detective, somebody on the Joint Terrorism Task Force to be able to cut that workload down, to have AI basically synthesize all this information and really allow those analysts and detectives to investigate a specific crime or a specific individual who might be carrying out an attack. Another area where it could be potentially helpful long term is determining what is AI and what is, in fact, real original material. They're using a lot of the same methods we are, which is basically your own common sense, your own 2 eyeballs and 2 ears to try to be able to determine what is real or what could be generated by a machine.
Well, they have a reputation as being the best in the world. Tom Winter, thank you very much. Still to come today, baseball's back in a big way. Why so many people are tuning in to the championship series. So, to paraphrase the legendary Mark Twain, reports of baseball's death appear to have been greatly exaggerated. Right now, we're in the Final Four of the MLB playoffs. And as we speak, the New York Yankees and the Cleveland Guardians are playing in Game 3 of the American League Championship Series. And then tonight, the New York Mets and the LA Dodgers will play Game 4 of the National League Championship Series. And fans are tuning in big time. Take a look at the numbers. Fox says that Game 1 in the NLCS drew more than 8 million viewers on Sunday. That's the most watched game in baseball's Final Four in 15 years. And that's going head-to-head with NBC's Sunday Night Football, the most popular show in America. NBC's Sam Brock is at Citi Field, home of the Mets in Flushing, New York. Hi, Sam. What's driving baseball's huge success this postseason and the excitement right there in New York?
Yeah, Tom, good evening. First of all, I'll give you a quote as well. The numbers don't lie. You saw that millions more people are watching baseball. If you're going to script with the ALCS and NLCS, these championship series, who would be playing to have the Mets, the Yankees, and the Dodgers, New York and Los Angeles, and also, by the way, the team from Cleveland, the Guardians, that has one of the lowest payrolls in Major League Baseball, but somehow is still here. The storylines speak for themselves. So that's part of, I think, what is driving this. Shohei Ohtani on the Dodgers just had one of the most memorable seasons, offensive seasons in Major League Baseball history. By the way, he also pitches and is phenomenal at that, a modern-day Babe Ruth. Look at this graphic, though, Tom. Those are the top 7 players in the 2020s in terms of WAR, wins above replacement. It's like a great metric to judge how great this player is versus the baseline. Shohei Ohtani leads that list, followed by Aaron Judge. You've certainly heard of him. He broke the American League home run record last year or 2 years ago. Juan Soto, Jose Ramirez, Freddie Freeman, Francisco Lindor here for the Mets fans. That's the dude. And Mookie Betts. They're all playing in the playoffs, right? So it just tells you the best of the best is engaged right now. And as far as a potential Subway Series, that's what the fans here in New York are electric about, the very prospect of that. It's only happened once in this modern iteration of the Mets since they've been in existence. That was in 2000, and the Yankees crushed them. Of course, if you predate that, the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants, when there was a New York Giants baseball team, would also qualify. But this is uncharted territory right now, really, for the last couple of decades. Here's what fans told us today about how they're feeling going into the next couple of days. Take a listen.
I'd love to see it. I think it'd be great for the city. It brings everybody together. It's a lot of fun.
It's fantastic. It's wild. It's an energy that I've never seen before out here. It's amazing.
The father-son element, always so great for baseball, Tom. And lastly, there's been a drought in New York in terms of championships. I want to show you a quick graphic right now. The last New York team to win a championship, the New York Football Giants, that was 2011. The Yankees, 2009. The Jets, 1968. And the Brooklyn basketball team, the Nets, they've never won. The Mets, by the way, 1986. I grew up as a Mets fan. I had Mets wallpaper in my room as a 5-year-old. Maybe this is the year. I don't know, but I'm excited to find out, my friends. Back to you.
You're loving it, I know. Sam, thanks very much, and have fun tonight. That's a wrap for this hour. Coverage picks up right now. And we are back at the top of the hour, coming on the air right now with that breaking news we've been talking about throughout the last few minutes or so. A Texas judge has, in fact, hit the pause button on the execution that we were expecting for Robert Robertson. That's the man who's accused of shaking a baby to death. But now that evidence and in fact, the diagnosis, very questionable. We are live from just outside the prison with the new details coming in right now. Also at this hour, dramatic developments out of the Middle East with the leader of Hamas killed. The big question, what does this mean now for the war in Gaza? And then to Georgia, dozens of new charges for a 14-year-old and his father connected to that deadly school shooting in Georgia. What this new indictment tells us about where these cases might go. Plus, we are live in a key battleground state where early voting starts today. How Hurricane Hallie is impacting people's votes. In North Carolina, they've got a lot on their plate. And we are breaking down a critical voting block in two other battleground states. Followers of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, how the Mormon vote could swing Arizona and Nevada. We'll have that later in the newscast. Good day, I'm Tom Costello. As we said, coming on the air right now with breaking news. Reports just into us in the last hour or so as a Texas man was about to be set to be executed in the controversial shaken baby case. A Texas judge has issued a petition to pause it. Why? So Robert Robertson can testify at a legislative hearing in Texas next week. Now, remember, we told you earlier in the newscast that Republicans in the Texas House had issued a rather rare last-minute attempt by issuing a subpoena. The execution was set to be the first of its kind tied to shaken baby syndrome. NBC's Danny Ceballos has our legal angle, but we'll start with NBC's Priscilla Thompson, who is in Huntsville. Priscilla, this news just coming into us, breaking at the last minute. It's caught a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah, Tom, everyone thought that this was a long shot. They were not sure if this was going to work and what was going to happen here. But what we know is that late yesterday, the state issued that subpoena. And essentially today, they petitioned the court saying that the state of Texas has a right, the state legislature has a right to ensure that laws in this state are working. And the law that they are looking to examine is whether or not this case needs to be reviewed based on junk science, which may have led to this conviction. And so I want to read part of what they wrote in their petition to the court. They say Robert Robertson's testimony on his access to justice and due process are unique because he is a person with autism in a case unlike any other in the state of Texas. The first potential shaken baby syndrome execution. No other person can provide the committee with this information. Given the dispute over some of the facts surrounding his case, it is also essential for the committee to hear from him personally to judge his credibility as a witness. Execution would make it impossible to comply with the subpoena. And so that is why they called for this execution to be halted so that he could appear and testify before the committee. And late today, a judge in Travis County in the Austin area granted that petition. Now, what happens next? The Texas Attorney General could still appeal this, could ultimately appeal this decision. And so there is a chance that this execution could still move forward. But for now, it appears that it is going to be halted. Tom?
You know, I think for people who may not have been watching all of the developments, it's important to note that the shaken baby diagnosis has really been called into question by medical experts, by, in fact, the lead investigator in this case at the time. He's now said he was wrong, and by a host of other political leaders as well as legal experts. And then on top of that, you mentioned the autism, which is important as well, because part of the reason he was convicted is because at the time, the medical staff at the hospital where he brought the baby, they thought he was acting unusually in that he didn't seem to be showing much emotion. But they didn't know that he had autism, right? We now know he has autism. So, boy, it's just layer after layer of questions on this case.
Yeah, Tom, none of these things were known at the time. The autism was not diagnosed until 2018. This case happened in 2002. Also, as you mentioned, a lot of the language and the medical consensus around shaken baby syndrome has changed. Experts now note that it could be caused, those symptoms, by something like an infectious disease or a medical condition. And the other thing that Robertson's attorneys have argued is that none of this was presented to investigators or the jury in terms of the chronic medical condition that this 2-year-old baby had, that she had been to the doctor more than 40 times in her short life, and that even in the days leading up to her death, she had a fever of 104 degrees. So all of these factors painting a very concerning picture for a lot of folks here, including these lawmakers who have called for this to be halted until they have a chance to review it. Tom?
Yeah, and she had pneumonia, as I understand it, before she was brought into the ER with this particular issue. All right, Priscilla, thank you very much. Keep us updated from there. Let's bring in NBC's legal analyst, Danny Ceballos. Danny, you and I talked an hour ago. Highly unlikely, you told me, that the Supreme Court would get involved. Were you surprised that that we have a pause by a judge because of what the Texas legislature wants to do?
I am surprised, but when this first broke, I thought, well, I still don't think it's going to be the U.S. Supreme Court. And sure enough, it was a state court responding to the legislative subpoena. And that was always a toss-up because it's really never happened before. The judge could have easily said, hey, the legislative branch is trying to infringe on the judicial branch, therefore we're not going to respect this subpoena. Or they could determine that the legislature has that power to call people before them and conduct an investigation of this particular law.
So what does this mean moving forward? Will he still be executed after his testimony? But what I found fascinating is Texas actually has a junk science laws, right, which allow for convictions to be challenged if the science has been found to be faulty.
Exactly. And Priscilla covered some of that. But basically what it does is it allows people who have been convicted on science that has since been proven to be questionable or junk science to raise that issue. Now, the state's response is that the shaken baby syndrome and the triad of symptoms that accompany it are not junk science. Their argument is it's an issue of fact. In other words, it's still a possibility, and it becomes what we call a battle of the experts. Now, the obvious response to that is that this defendant has come up with a number of experts who say that this is not a thing. Shaken baby syndrome is junk science. But the challenge there is, did they have the opportunity to raise that before? Has he had due process, the opportunity to raise all these issues? This may end up only being a short reprieve.
Wow. We'll watch it closely. Danny, thank you very much. Just in to NBC News tonight, Hezbollah has announced the start of a new stage of escalation against Israel, that in response to the death of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. It comes as the IDF has just released this drone footage that they say shows Sinwar sitting in a chair on the top floor of a ruined building just before his death. We have to note, while the IDF says the video shows Sinwar, NBC News has not independently confirmed that. Meanwhile, President Biden landing in Germany in the last hour, reacting to Sinwar's death. Take a listen.
Now's the time to move on. Move toward a ceasefire in Gaza. Make sure that we move in the direction that we're going to be in a position to make things better for the whole world. It's time for this war to end and bring these hostages home.
The takedown of Sinwar, of course, is a big win for Israel, at war with Hamas for more than a year. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said late today the war will continue until Israel's hostages are returned from Gaza. Sinwar was the architect of the October 7th attack on Israel and is believed to have been in hiding in the tunnels under Gaza. NBC's Keir Simmons is joining us now from the region. Keir, what's the latest you're hearing? It sounds like Hezbollah is, in fact, pledging retaliation and retribution.
Oh, no doubt, Tom, but just to the details, it's a hell of a story. The Israelis say that the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, found Yahya Sinwar with two other terrorists moving between buildings. Keep in mind just what you said at the end there before you came to me, that he was believed to be hiding in tunnels under Gaza. Apparently, he was in houses in Rafah. They didn't know that they'd found him. They didn't know that they'd killed him. They killed him on Wednesday. That drone footage shows them seeing him, but even at that point, they didn't necessarily know it was him. They fired tank rounds, and then, as you can imagine, in a situation like that, you're very careful as you approach a building, as you move through a building. There can be explosives. They didn't even know whether his body perhaps was booby-trapped. It was only when they got to him, they found him, by the way, with money and with a gun, or guns perhaps, it was only when they got to him that they looked at him and said, that guy looks like Yahya Sinwar. And because he'd been in an Israeli prison for a number of decades, they had the dental records, they had the fingerprints, they had the DNA to be able to test that theory, and it came out true. So it's taken time for them to confirm what is ultimately the most important victory for Israel in its offensive in Gaza the past 12 months. It took time, and frankly, they stumbled upon him.
Yeah, and Prime Minister Netanyahu with an offer that anybody who returns the hostages will be allowed to live, but a threat that anybody who harmed hostages now may not be, right?
Yeah, an important message from Prime Minister Netanyahu that we go on, we carry on. You mentioned Hezbollah there. Of course, keep in mind, Israel is still fighting Hezbollah in Lebanon. There is still this question of an Israeli strike against Iran after Iran fired missiles at Israel. So there is this wider conflict now. It's not just Gaza. Palestinians that journalists are talking to in Gaza and in other parts of the region are saying we will fight on. Now, what you're seeing is the Biden administration, you played that clip there, the Biden administration trying to say, OK, now is a moment when we might be able to try and negotiate. Maybe this is a paradigm shift. Maybe we can get the hostages back. I've got to say, I think it's too early right now, Tom, to draw any conclusions about where we might get to next. Clearly, it's important. But both sides, frankly, are saying tonight the fighting continues.
Keir, it certainly appears from the outside that Israel has decimated the highest levels of not only Hamas, but also Hezbollah, and launched major attacks on both organizations. Are they on their knees? Are those terrorist organizations on their knees right now, or do we really know?
Yes, they are. We should point out that people are talking about 4 potential leaders that could replace Yahya Sinwar. How about this for a fact, Tom? In the past decades, every single leader of Hamas has been killed by Israel, and they found a new leader. Yahya Sinwar himself grew up in a refugee camp in Khan Yunis. His whole ideology was forged in Gaza. Are there other Yahya Sinwars waiting to emerge?
Yeah, well, there most certainly probably are. Keir, thank you very much. Keir Simmons on the region. Here at home, Vice President Kamala Harris slamming former President Trump for his new controversial comments about January 6th. Here's what he said.
He called it a, quote, a day of love. But it points out something that everyone here knows. The American people are exhausted with his gaslighting.
So that's the vice president. Early in-person voting is kicking off in North Carolina. That's a key battleground state where both sides are banking on really trying to supercharge their bases. And this evening, the massive devastation from Hurricane Hallie, with many roads still impassable, is making it even more difficult for some people to get to the polling sites. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez is in North Carolina for us. Gabe, these new comments from Harris are notable as she's making this big Midwest pitch right now, right? In just 24 hours after that big Fox News interview that she had.
Yeah, certainly, Tom. And look, I'll first talk to you about where I am. This is North Carolina, another key swing state that the Harris campaign has been focusing on. The cleanup continues here just weeks after the remnants of Hurricane Hallie devastated this region. But you're right, this is an all-out battleground blitz right now for both presidential campaigns. The Harris campaign in Wisconsin, though, this evening and this afternoon, and they are trying to go after these women voters, suburban voters. Tomorrow she'll be in battleground Michigan as well, crisscrossing that state. And this is all part of the so-called blue wall. Those 3 states will be critical for her. But here in North Carolina, again, both campaigns view this state as critical as well. The Trump campaign has been focusing a lot here on this state, and so is the Harris campaign just weeks after the storm. Back to you.
Well, listen, we're all nervous watching your live shot, Gabe, and we're afraid you're going to get smacked in the head by that front-end loader. But as you rightly point out in your reporting, Hallie's crushing aftermath is colliding with the political storm, right? And so what is the sentiment right now in North Carolina just after we saw record turnout already in Georgia?
Yeah, and that, just so you know, we spoke with the operator just a few minutes ago. He's well aware we're here. Okay, promised that we would be okay. But talking about the situation here in North Carolina, certainly, look, it's been very difficult for officials here to try and bounce back from the storm in such a short time frame. But they really have been trying to do it. They've been reopening polling places and replacing some of them that were damaged by the storm. We were there yesterday as some officials in Avery County were, putting up some of those voting booths in one of their locations. We are at another location today that was new, trying to get to some of these more rural communities. And while this in some ways is unprecedented, North Carolina officials say they have done something like this before with the COVID pandemic, another unprecedented situation. So it's been a very difficult couple of years if you're in the elections business. Let's take a listen to the deputy director of Avery County and what he told us yesterday.
Well, you know, the last time we had a presidential was the pandemic, so we're on round 2 now of you know, different occurrences for a presidential election, but we just adapt and we go on. This time it's a natural disaster for, you know, counties involved, but we just keep moving, keep going forward.
Yeah, they have to try to adapt. Another challenge here, Tom, absentee ballots. Election officials say they are working closely with the Postal Service to try and redistribute them because some of them were washed away in this storm, Tom.
Oh, boy. Okay. Gabe, thanks very much. Stay safe, and thanks to your crew. Former President Trump is off the campaign trail tonight, speaking at a dinner for Catholic Charities in New York as he's showing no remorse for his actions during the Capitol attack during the town hall that he had today with Latino voters.
They didn't come because of me. They came because of the election. They thought the election was a rigged election, and that's why they came. Some of those people went down to the Capitol. I said peacefully and patriotically, nothing done wrong at all, nothing done wrong.
Well, he also said we fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. In the last few hours, Trump has been trying to stop the federal judge overseeing the case on his actions during January 6th. From releasing a new document with information that Jack Smith is using to argue that presidential immunity does not apply here. NBC's Ryan Riley joins me now. Ryan, while the document Trump wants to stop is expected to be heavily redacted, you have some sense of what's in there, right? Most explicitly blaming the president for January 6th.
Yeah, and the reason that sort of comes up is because it's in direct response to the filing that Trump's lawyers made. They claimed that the indictment that a federal grand jury returned back in August did not allege that Donald Trump was connected or responsible for the January 6th attack. So in response to that, Jack Smith's team said that, yes, actually, the indictment does charge that, and here's exactly how we believe and allege that Donald Trump was connected to that attack and that he bears a responsibility for what happened that day. That's the argument that Jack Smith's team is making there. And they, you know, uncovered some new evidence and some obviously that grabbed some headlines. But, you know, that's why this is all popping up in October. You know, the comparison I think the Trump team would make and some other folks would make is saying this is basically like what happened in 2016, where all of this information came out about Hillary Clinton. But I think it's important to make those tremendous distinctions because, you know, back in 2016 when the FBI was releasing this info about Hillary Clinton and, you know, sort of had the derogatory information about her, that was about an uncharged individual. And what we have here is someone who is a criminal defendant in an ongoing case responding and the special counsel's office responding to a deadline imposed by the judge.
And also impeached by the House for January 6th, though not convicted in the Senate. I understand we're also learning new information about how Trump tried to silence Stormy Daniels.
That's right. So Rachel Maddow has obtained this document that suggests that the Trump team, in connection with this settlement that Stormy Daniels, or this money that Stormy Daniels owed back to Donald Trump, there was an attempt to basically buy essentially another NDA, a non-disclosure agreement there, basically give a little bit of a cost cut off the top of what Stormy Daniels owed Donald Trump in exchange for her agreeing to stay silent. Right. And so that is sort of just goes back to what this was all about. And of course, what those 34 felony charges that Trump was convicted of in that New York hush money case was all about at the in the beginning in 2016. It just is a real tie-in, almost like deja vu for what happened back in 2016 with Stormy Daniels.
You've got a lot to keep track of there, Ryan. Thank you very much. Ryan Riley in the newsroom. We have more developing news coming out of Georgia in just the last hour, getting our hands on a grand jury indictment unsealed today, revealing dozens of new charges for a 14-year-old boy and his father. His father connected to a deadly shooting at a high school last month. The 14-year-old suspect now facing 55 charges, not just for allegedly murdering 2 teachers and 2 students, but also the kids he shot at. His father also now faces 29 counts tied to any child his son fired on during the deadly attack, plus some additional charges for his father. And this is all new ground here when the parents of a suspected school shooter face charges. It started, you may recall, with the parents of Ethan Crumbley, convicted and sentenced to 15 years behind bars for involuntary manslaughter. That was connected to the Oxford High School shooting in Michigan back in 2021. NBC's Priya Sridhar joins me now. Priya, the difference here is that this is the first time the parent of a high school shooter faces murder charges. So what's new in this indictment?
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. Well, one of the most notable differences with these new set of charges is that Colt Gray, the 14-year-old who's being accused of carrying out this shooting at Winder High School, is now being faced with malice murder charges, which is the highest murder charges you can face here in the state of Georgia. Previous to that, he was facing felony murder charges. So this really means, according to prosecutors, of course, that he premeditated all of this. And typically with malice murder charges, you can actually face the death penalty. And although Colt Gray, despite his age, is being charged or is being tried as an adult, I should say, he will not actually be facing the death penalty according to his first court appearance. Now, we're also learning some interesting new information about what happened behind the scenes on the day of that deadly shooting. According to investigators who testified yesterday at a preliminary hearing, according to reporting from the Associated Press, Colt Gray actually took a semi-automatic style weapon on a bus. He covered it in poster board, put it in his backpack, and then put it away, attended his first period class. Another fascinating piece of information that we learned is that they also discovered a notebook in that second period classroom with a diagram of exactly how he was going to carry out this shooting. He had written in that notebook that he planned to kill at least 26 people and injure another 13 if he, quote unquote, made it that far. And as you mentioned, this is also very interesting that his father, Colin Gray, is also facing some murder charges too, Tom.
Yeah, along those lines, I understand there is actually some new evidence specifically related to the father as well, or the father and son together?
Absolutely. Well, the reason that the father has come in the spotlight is that he allegedly gifted that semi-automatic weapon that was used in the shooting to his son as a Christmas present. And Tom, there were several red flags, according to investigators, that people, including educators and his parents, frankly, should have been concerned about Colt Gray. They say that back in May of 2023, he had already made online threats about carrying out a school shooting. And back then, investigators from a sheriff's department in a neighboring county actually came to his house and interviewed Colin Gray and Colt Gray. After that, Colt Gray also reportedly had an anxiety attack at Winder High School. He then told his parents that he wanted to be taken to a mental asylum. They were in the process of trying to take him to inpatient treatment when investigators say the parents decided not to take him there, Tom.
So it would appear plenty of warning signs. Priya, thank you very much. All right, we are just now getting a statement into us from the members of One Direction reacting to the death of their bandmate, Liam Payne. They say that they are devastated, and it is as investigators in Argentina look into the events leading up to Payne's death. They've spoken to 5 people who were in the hotel before Payne fell from a 3rd-floor balcony. And it comes as we learn more disturbing news about the details of the autopsy just released a few hours ago. NBC's Chloe Malas has more.
Hey there, and just moments ago, we finally heard from One Direction. They released a statement saying that they're completely devastated, adding, "We will miss him terribly. We love you, Liam." So we know that Liam Payne, he was actually in Argentina for a concert for Niall Horan, one of the members of One Direction, several days earlier, that he'd also been there with his new girlfriend, influencer Kate Cassidy. But we do know that Cassidy had already returned home to Florida, and authorities now saying that Liam was by himself when this incident occurred. We know that there's this 911 call that's been circulated and obtained by Telemundo, and in it you hear a hotel employee saying that they're concerned about an aggressive male in the lobby who's being destructive and that they're worried that he might do something life-threatening. Well, now authorities are saying that that 911 call actually was in reference to Liam Payne and that was made just minutes before he fell off of his 3rd-floor balcony at his hotel in Buenos Aires. And now we're hearing from the preliminary autopsy report that he died of blunt force trauma to the head. He sustained injuries from the fall. They say that he had internal bleeding, that he had some head injuries, but they don't know if drugs or alcohol played a role. They say that he died upon impact. It didn't look like he braced himself in any way, and that he might have even been unconscious or semi-unconscious at the time of the fall. They also say that they seized what appears to be drugs and alcohol from the hotel room, but again, that toxicology report that is still pending In the meantime, tributes are pouring in from all over the world. His family saying earlier today that they're absolutely devastated. They're asking for privacy during this incredibly awful time. He leaves behind a 7-year-old son named Bear, whom he shares with his ex, Cheryl Cole. She's a very famous UK singer. And, you know, this is tough because Liam had talked about his issues with sobriety, over the years. In a video that he posted to his YouTube channel last year, he said, "I'm back" was the title of this video, that he had been in rehab, that he was doing better, that he was going to make him be a better musician as a solo artist and, a better friend and also a better father. And he talked about his son a lot in his interviews. Obviously, there are a lot of questions right now, and authorities, they are still investigating. Again, they don't believe that there was any foul play involved in Payne's death. But obviously, this is a devastating moment for his former bandmates, his family, his son, and fans all over the world. Back to you.
Yeah, it really is a tragedy. Chloe, thank you very much. Coming up from us, a former Olympic snowboarder wanted by the FBI, how authorities say he ran a massive international drug trafficking ring. Plus, a first-of-its-kind lawsuit in Texas, why the attorney general there is suing an individual doctor. The news continues on News Now as we look at a voting bloc that could be critical in the upcoming election. We're talking about LDS members, folks who are part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who you might know as Mormons. They're one of the fastest growing Christian groups in the country, and while they traditionally vote Republican, some, especially women, have been divided over Donald Trump. And it could have a big impact in key battlegrounds. We're talking Arizona and Nevada. NBC's Garrett Haig has more.
Let's go get some toys.
As a mother of 5 girls and the wife of her ward's bishop, Tatiana Pena has no doubt how her faith will impact her vote.
I think the fact that Donald Trump really understands the importance of the nuclear family, and a lot of his policies are to help strengthen the nuclear family. I think that's a big thing for me.
Tatiana is one of more than 400,000 Arizona members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The fast-growing Christian denomination counts nearly 7 million American members, nicknamed Mormons, largely concentrated in western states. In 2007, then Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney offered many Americans their first introduction to his faith.
I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God and the Savior of mankind.
Latter-day Saints now far better known in pop culture, thanks to shows like The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Did you ever say that Jen is too Mormon?
The battleground states of Arizona and Nevada each contain large Latter-day Saints populations and have each received canvassing delegations from the Utah GOP, the state where the church is based and where its conservative lean has helped keep the state deep Republican red. But the Trump era has created cracks in the church's political foundations. LDS member Terry Sharp voted for Trump in 2016, but soon found she could no longer defend his conduct.
I think Trump's a character, but I don't think he has any character.
Jane Anderson says she could never square her church's teachings with the character of a man whose policies she would otherwise support.
Our church leaders have said when we evaluate candidates, they listed 3 qualities: integrity, compassion, and service to others. I just don't see that with Trump.
In 2020, Sharp and Anderson became part of the 18% of LDS voters in Arizona who backed Joe Biden, according to exit polls, contributing critical votes to his razor-thin 11,000 vote margin there. Their votes and those of other Latter-day Saints, particularly women, could be pivotal yet again. Trump making this direct appeal on Sunday.
We want our peace. We want our wives' and children's futures. We want our freedom to worship. These are staples for the Latter-day Saints.
The Harris campaign pushing back, running this ad featuring Mesa, Arizona's Republican and Latter-day Saint mayor.
I'm a lifelong Republican, but I've always put country over party.
Harris's campaign hoping to build a permission structure for conservative Latter-day Saints to vote Democrat, perhaps for the first time.
Is it hard to come out and say, I'm voting for Kamala Harris in this community? Is it?
It is. I frankly keep it to myself and a few close friends.
I have some news for you. More people are going to know.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm really proud to stand up for Kamala. I think that her integrity is tremendous.
But for Anderson, she and her church are still just as conservative, her principles the same.
Can you square your conservative principles with a vote for Kamala Harris?
So there is one conservative principle that I hold very dearly that is going to push me towards Harris. That is the rule of law and the peaceful transfer of power.
In fact, all three women say they will oppose the state's ballot measure enshrining abortion rights, with Pena, the Trump supporter, arguing that Harris's record on abortion issues disqualifies her with church members.
The first commandment that God gave to Adam and Eve in the garden was to multiply and replenish the earth. Everything that Kamala Harris and her campaign has been focused on is abortion.
A confluence of factors dividing a church that weighs conservatism with character, alongside family and faith, and whose members may find their choices this November wanting.
Trust me, I wish there was another option. I wish Nikki Haley was on the ballot. But I have Trump, and he's not an option based on my principles.
And Garrett Haig joins us now. He's in Wisconsin at the Harris rally. Garrett, what other issues may be giving LDS members pause when it comes to voting for Trump?
Probably the biggest one of the specific issues is immigration, and not just sort of how the border is handled, but how Donald Trump talks about immigrants and refugees. This is a church where mission trips are expected, where work with refugees are common, and a church that was persecuted inside this country. Mormon voters will tell you they know what it's like sort of organizationally to be treated like an outsider, and a lot of times they just don't like the way that Trump frames the plight of immigrants and refugees. And Tom, you know, we also talked about Mitt Romney in this piece. I'll just flag that he is someone who's obviously not going to vote for Trump. He voted twice for his conviction in Senate impeachment trials. But he's also said he's not voting for Harris. You know, those sort of lost conservatives without a political home, I think, are a big part of this race overall, and especially in the Mormon community.
Yeah, good point. Garrett, thank you very much. Okay, over now to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about this evening. Number 1, Justice Department officials announcing a former Olympic snowboarder and 15 others were charged for allegedly running a huge operation to smuggle cocaine into Canada. The FBI says Ryan Wedding, a Canadian snowboarder, was also involved in orchestrating multiple murders. Now, the FBI is offering a reward of up to $50,000 for information leading to his arrest and his extradition. Number 2, the Texas Attorney General is suing a doctor in Dallas, accusing her of providing transgender care to about 20 minors. You may recall last year, Texas banned hormone replacement therapy and other gender-affirming care for minors. This is the first time an AG has sued an individual doctor over this. Now, the doctor and her employer have not yet returned NBC's request for comment. Number 3, the Biden administration says it is forgiving an additional $4.5 billion with a B dollars in student debt for more than 60,000 borrowers. Anybody included in this round of loan forgiveness should find out in the coming weeks. Biden says more than 1 million public service workers have now had their student loans forgiven. Number 4, tonight, a rare copy of the Constitution is going up for auction in North Carolina, and it could sell for more than $1 million. The auction says it's one of fewer than 10 copies out there, and the only one that's held privately. Number 5, Universal is announcing it's opening a new theme park in Orlando, Florida this coming May. You know they don't have enough down there. It tries to compete with Disney. This is going to be called Universal Epic Universe. It's going to have stuff from everything you can imagine. Harry Potter, Super Nintendo, How to Train Your Dragon. And as you know, NBC News and Universal are both owned by NBC Universal. And when we come back, a new report putting a spotlight on the mistakes leading up to the assassination attempt on former President Trump, why it has the panel warning of another catastrophic security lapse. Plus, Australia closing dozens of beaches today, what's apparently washing up on Sydney's shores. Back now, and a new independent bipartisan review released today is identifying numerous mistakes by the U.S. Secret Service leading up to that assassination attempt on the former president, Mr. Trump, back in July. The panel, made up of former senior law enforcement and top government officials, also warned of another catastrophic security lapse if the Secret Service doesn't immediately undertake what the report calls fundamental reform. The Secret Service did not immediately respond to a request for comment. A spokesperson previously told NBC News that the agency had developed a plan to address known issues around staffing, training, and the use of technologies. NBC's Julia Ainsley covers Homeland Security. Julia, break this down for us. What did the report find specifically?
This was probably the most detailed report that I've seen. Some of these things weren't new. Some of them were. 52 pages, Tom, where they include things like the fact that that morning, local law enforcement had their own meeting without Secret Service, and then Secret Service had their own meeting without local law enforcement.
That's head-spinning.
No wonder there was confusion about who was supposed to be guarding that roof where the shooter ultimately took aim. Their number one recommendation, Tom, is that there should be leadership basically revolution at the Secret Service, that they need extreme leadership changes. That is a question that our own Kelly O'Donnell posed today to acting Secret Service Director Rowe. Here's what he had to say.
They are recommending a leadership change. Are you prepared for that?
Well, what I'm focused on right now is making sure that I'm advocating for the men and women of the Secret Service that are out there doing the mission. And I'm trying to match the level of effort that they're doing right now to make sure that we are successful. And I'm pushing myself and those around me to make sure that we're having those conversations with key decision makers so that I can advocate for them. And everything is on the table, everything from pay reform, retirement reform, getting an authorization to ensure that our personnel are paid for every hour that they work. That is my focus right now.
And what Roe's talking about there is how hard it's been to hire new people, and that's why they have to depend so much on local law enforcement. Mm-hmm. So when that communication doesn't happen, as it clearly didn't that day, they think another Butler could happen again.
You know what I don't get about that, the communication issue? It's not like this happened. We just learned 6 months ago that there was a communication failure and problem. I mean, I've covered law enforcement for 30 years. We've been talking about this for 30 years. The police and the feds have got to be able to communicate, and it completely failed on this day. And oh, by the way, because I want to ask you about funding, because funding is a big problem with the Secret Service.
Well, and that's the thing we kept hearing about, that they simply don't have the funding. That's why they have to draw from locals. That's why they have to draw from other federal agencies like Homeland Security investigations, drawing often from people who aren't prepared or trained for this level of security or how to guard a protectee like Trump. But what this recommendation is saying, what this report is saying, is that even with funding, Butler would have still happened, that it's not just a funding issue. It's an issue with the way this agency is structured. This guy flew a drone for 11 minutes undetected. Yeah. The number of errors that went undetected, simply, you can't just blame that on funding.
No, it's just stunning at all levels.
It really is.
Julia, thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom.
You know, NBC News covers hundreds of international stories every day, and it's very difficult to read, watch, or listen to everything. So our teams around the world have selected some highlights. Here's a look at what they say they're watching, and we call this segment The Global. From France, heavy rains and major flooding hitting parts of southern France today. You can see cars totally submerged underwater. Roads are closed. Some neighborhoods have been evacuated. It comes around a week after remnants of a hurricane hit Western Europe. Out of Australia, multiple beaches around Sydney shut down today as authorities investigate mysterious tar balls that have washed ashore. Police have been advised not to swim near or touch the debris. Early test results show that they formed when oil came in contact with debris and water. The Environmental Protection Authority of New South Wales says it is investigating the origin of the debris and whether it poses any risk to the community and the environment. Out of Germany, a big, bright, look at that, big, bright supermoon lighting up the sky this evening. Crowds gathering in Munich to watch it rise over the city. NASA says it is the largest full moon of the year, and it will appear for 3 days, I should say. You'll probably be able to see it stateside here as it gets dark wherever you are. Coming up from us, we've talked a lot about AI on this show, and next in our original, we're looking at how it's changing the country's biggest police department as it fights terrorism. To tonight's original with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching, and tonight we are looking at artificial intelligence and how it is transforming policing. How big of a problem is AI for law enforcement? Is AI a force for good, or can criminals exploit it for nefarious purposes? NBC's Tom Winter explores all of that and more with the NYPD Deputy Commissioner for Intelligence and Counterterrorism.
It's a new world in counterterrorism.
We've been describing the threat environment as everything, everywhere, all at once. And this is around the world, across ideologies, lone actors, complex organized group, all of it.
NYPD Deputy Commissioner Rebecca Weiner runs the largest police intelligence and counterterrorism program in the world. A secretive NYPD unit now facing a new tool that works 24/7, 365 days a year, potentially for would-be terrorists: artificial intelligence.
AI takes existing problems and magnifies them. It makes them at scale and at cost. The technology makes it easier to do the concerning stuff.
Terrorist groups telling their followers to get working with AI chat programs and making AI-generated propaganda videos to recruit extremists. This video, made by ISIS, entirely AI-generated and voiced, released after the deadly Crocus attack near Moscow.
You can generate artificial propaganda without any concerns involving your own personal safety. If you can use a video generator to do that work for you, it's much faster. You can do more of it.
Weiner says the AI platforms have guardrails to try and keep criminals from using them. I asked several AI chatbots how to build a bomb. They said they wouldn't help me, and when I asked them why, it's because they said they didn't want me to do anything illegal or to hurt anyone. Guardrails the platforms have put in place.
Guardrails, by the way, that are continually quite easy to jump.
You're finding that people are breaking through that?
Yes, and it's pretty easy to do, depending on how you're asking questions.
Weiner says she hopes AI companies will reach out to law enforcement to identify people interacting with chat programs in an effort to carry out attacks, much the same way major retailers report suspicious purchases of bomb-making materials. Another thing worrying authorities: a rise in AI-assisted scams targeting vulnerable people like the elderly, and fake 911 calls known as swatting, which necessitates police racing to respond.
This is against schools, it's against houses of worship. It is easy and it is free to generate hundreds or more of these calls that can be mapped out across the country at the same time. All of them, by the way, still require police response.
But Weiner says one of her chief concerns with AI, how easy it is to generate and distribute disinformation.
Because of crooked Joe Biden, we have an immigration crisis.
And that fake AI-generated election videos like these
but there's a bigger bomb if you fire them.
Can pose real public safety risks.
Virality is often emotion-provoking, and there is a big concern around disinformation-fueled political violence, conspiracy theory-driven violence, which we have seen an increase of, including in this city over the last few years.
New technology often comes with ethical questions, something Weiner knows well. Her grandfather worked on the Manhattan Project and helped to develop the atomic bomb.
His commitment to further national security in a way that certainly has tremendous systemic downsides, the creation of a horrific weapon of war. And many of the scientists thought that they would be ending war for good by creating so much deterrence that no one would dare want to start a war with these kinds of weapons.
Would you put AI on the same level as that technology?
Well, people who are far smarter than I am have likened the advent of, proliferated AI to the advent of the nuclear era. Obviously, very different. We are certainly at an inflection point. I think it's going to change all aspects of society, which, of course, includes threats.
While Weiner still believes that one day AI could yield benefits for law enforcement, she says for now,
the bad guys might have a bit of an upper hand.
Do you think you're behind the curve when it comes to AI and the threat that it poses to your field?
I think we are at the curve. We're not behind, we're recognizing the risk.
Is this an existential threat?
I don't think it's an existential threat, but I am not a scientist. It's going to require some regulatory environments that don't exist. It will require cooperation between private sector, law enforcement, intel, and way broader groups of stakeholders to figure out how to harness the good but avoid the bad.
And Tom Winter joins me now. Tom, did you get a sense of how the NYPD is actually using AI to help catch criminals?
Right. So Commissioner Weiner told us that currently the NYPD does not have an AI program. They don't have an AI system. I asked her, is there a secret rack room somewhere with lights flashing and computers whirring and basically using this in their intelligence efforts? She says not at this point. But one area where they could see the NYPD using AI in the future, she says they get all this information, Tom, and they develop all this information in these cases and think about what it could do for an investigator, for a detective, somebody on the Joint Terrorism Task Force, to be able to cut that workload down, to have AI basically synthesize all this information and really allow those analysts and detectives to investigate a specific crime or a specific individual who might be carrying out an attack. Another area where it could be potentially helpful long term is determining what is AI and what is, in fact, real original material. They're using a lot of the same methods we are, which is basically your own common sense, your own 2 eyeballs and 2 ears to try to be able to determine what is real or what could be generated by a machine.
Well, they have a reputation as being the best in the world. Tom Winter, thank you very much. Still to come today, baseball's back in a big way. Why so many people are tuning in to the championship series. So, to paraphrase the legendary Mark Twain, reports of baseball's death appear to have been greatly exaggerated. Right now, we're in the Final Four of the MLB playoffs. And as we speak, the New York Yankees and the Cleveland Guardians are playing in Game 3 of the American League Championship Series. And then tonight, the New York Mets and the LA Dodgers will play Game 4 of the National League Championship Series. And fans are tuning in big time. Take a look at the numbers. Fox says that Game 1 on the NLCS drew more than 8 million viewers on Sunday. That's the most watched game in baseball's Final Four in 15 years. And that's going head-to-head with NBC's Sunday Night Football, the most popular show in America. NBC's Sam Brock is at Citi Field, home of the Mets in Flushing, New York. Hi, Sam. What's driving baseball's huge success this postseason and the excitement right there in New York?
Yeah, Tom, good evening. First of all, I'll give you a quote as well. The numbers don't lie. You saw that millions more people are watching baseball. If you're going to script what the ALCS and NLCS, these championship series, who would be playing to have the Mets, the Yankees, and the Dodgers, New York and Los Angeles, and also, by the way, the team from Cleveland, the Guardians, that has one of the lowest payrolls in Major League Baseball, but somehow is still here. The storylines speak for themselves. So that's part of, I think, what is driving this. Shohei Ohtani on the Dodgers just had one of the most memorable seasons, offensive seasons in Major League Baseball history. By the way, he also pitches and is phenomenal at that, a modern-day Babe Ruth. Look at this graphic, though, Tom. Those are the top 7 players in the 2020s in terms of WAR, wins above replacement. It's like a great metric to judge how great this player is versus the baseline. Shohei Ohtani leads that list, followed by Aaron Judge. You've certainly heard of him. He broke the American League home run record last year or 2 years ago. Juan Soto, Jose Ramirez, Freddie Freeman, Francisco Lindor here for the Mets fans. That's the dude. And Mookie Betts. They're all playing in the playoffs, right? So it just tells you the best of the best is engaged right now. And as far as a potential Subway Series, that's what the fans here in New York are electric about, the very prospect of that. It's only happened once in this modern iteration of the Mets since they've been in existence. That was in 2000, and the Yankees crushed them. Of course, if you predate that, the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants, when there was a New York Giants baseball team, would also qualify. But this is uncharted territory right now, really, for the last couple of decades. Here's what fans told us today about how they're feeling going into the next couple of days. Take a listen.
I'd love to see it. I think it'd be great for the city. It brings everybody together. It's a lot of fun.
It's fantastic. It's wild. It's an energy that I've never seen before out here. It's amazing.
The father-son element, always so great for baseball, Tom. And lastly, there's been a drought in New York in terms of championships. I want to show you a quick graphic right now. The last New York team to win a championship, the New York Football Giants, that was 2011. The Yankees, 2009. The Jets, 1968. And the Brooklyn basketball team, the Nets, they've never won. The Mets, by the way, 1986. I grew up as a Mets fan. I had Mets wallpaper in my room as a 5-year-old. Maybe this is the year. I don't know, but I'm excited to find out, my friends.
Yeah,
back to you.
You're loving it, I know. Sam, thanks very much, and have fun tonight. That's a wrap for this hour. Coverage picks up right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.